Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine Charles Darwin, the Titan, the guy who fundamentally changed how we see life on Earth. Now picture him, maybe nearly 20 years after publishing On the Origin of Species. He's not thinking about finches or fossils anymore. He's turned that incredibly meticulous scientific eye inward on himself because he was grappling with this really profound sense of mental decline in his later years. He felt a part of his mind, specifically his ability to appreciate beauty, emotion, but it was fading slowly. And he didn't just feel it was old age. He was actively analyzing it like a scientist. So what was his final scientific breakthrough dealing with this personal crisis? And I mean, what does it mean for you today?
Yeah, what's truly intriguing here, I think, is how Darwin's own experience, this very human struggle with what he saw as mental atrophy, led him to a theory, a predictive theory, actually, that resonates, really strongly with modern neuroscience. It's quite startling. So our mission in this deep dive is to uncover how his own battle sparked this, well, revolutionary insight. An insight, as we'll see, that modern science is increasingly backing up. We're going to explore what Darwin figured out about poetry, believe it or not, how it can be this powerful and really accessible tool for boosting cognition, deepening emotional intelligence, and just overall mental well-being.
Absolutely. And our guide for this is Clint Miller's book, The Biohacker's Guide to Poetry, a fascinating title in itself. We're focusing mainly on Chapter 1, which really lays out these pretty groundbreaking claims about Darwin's forgotten theory. It pulls together ideas from all over, doesn't it? Very multidisciplinary. Okay, so let's start with Darwin's personal crisis. He wrote about it quite openly, this feeling that certain parts of his brain had, well, his words were, ceased to function. That wasn't just feeling a bit down. He described a very specific, significant loss of life satisfaction, and he directly linked it to like a reduced capacity for emotional engagement. He listed specific things. He couldn't enjoy music anymore, which he used to love. Works of art did nothing for him. Even beautiful scenery, the very thing that fueled his whole career, it just didn't move him. He felt, and this is quite stark, emotionally incapacitated. Like that whole spectrum of feeling was just dulled, muted. And his hypothesis for why. This is striking. He thought these crucial brain regions had atrophied from disuse.
Because of the decades he spent hyper-focused, almost exclusively, on dense scientific writing for his evolutionary theory. Makes you think, doesn't it? About the potential cost of that kind of intense specialization.
It really does. It's a sobering thought, especially for anyone who spends a lot of time in, very focused intellectual work. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights the importance of, well, let's call it whole brain engagement. Instead of letting certain faculties dominate and maybe possibly diminish others, what's really key here, Miller points out, is that in his younger years, like childhood through his 30s, Darwin read poetry all the time. Enjoyed it deeply. And the book suggests this wasn't just, a hobby. It was actually crucial. It argues that poetry helped train Darwin's logical, analytical left brain to work with his emotional, intuitive, creative right brain. This kind of collaboration, the synergy, the book argues, is exactly what allowed him to synthesize all that data and have these huge paradigm-shifting ideas like evolution. But then he stopped reading poetry. Shifted almost entirely to that linear scientific thinking, and that's when he started feeling that loss of pleasure, that emotional numbing he described.
Right, so he clearly saw the problem in himself. He identified this decline, linked it straight to his work habits, but what did he propose? Did he just, throw up his hands and accept it, or did he try to figure out a fix, for himself or for others? And this is where it gets really fascinating, I think. Despite his own struggles, Darwin made what Miller's book calls his final scientific prediction. He theorized that regularly reading poetry and listening to music could actually strengthen those very brain regions involved in emotion, the ones he felt had withered in him. He didn't just wonder about it, he actively urged other people to adopt this simple brain exercise to prevent the kind of mental decline he was going through. He genuinely believed it was vital for both emotional and intellectual health. He was basically sketching out preventative brain fitness, wasn't he? Way ahead of his time.
Absolutely. And the big question then becomes, well, how right was he? Was it just a good guess? According to Miller's research, remarkably right, Darwin's sharp insights and this last major prediction, they've actually been verified. Supported by a growing number of modern studies in neuroscience, psychology, Miller's book really digs into this. It cross-references Darwin's own detailed notes with recent brain research, but then it goes even further. It connects these dots with ancient Taoist thought, early Greek philosophers, and even modern quantum theory, which Sounds wild, I know. It's this ambitious mix, all aimed at shedding new light on how powerful poetry can be for, well, what we now call biohacking the brain. It's really a testament to Darwin's observational genius, seeing it validated from so many different angles, from ancient wisdom to modern science.
Okay, that is a bold claim, especially pulling in quantum theory. You mentioned Miller links these ideas to quantum superpowers of the right brain and quantum data. Now, for listeners, that might sound, well, pretty abstract, maybe a bit out there. Could you unpack that a little? What does the book actually mean by using terms like that in relation to poetry? How does it make that leap?
Right, that's a really good point, and it is where the book gets particularly interesting, maybe even provocative. Look, when Miller talks about quantum superpowers or quantum data, he's not saying poetry literally messes with subatomic particles. It's not a physics textbook. He's using these terms metaphorically to describe the right brain's amazing capacity for nonlinear thinking. Intuitive leaps, holistic understanding, deep associations, those aha moments, right? Creative insights that seem to pop out of nowhere. Think of it like the brain processing huge amounts of unconscious information, spotting patterns, connections, multiple meanings. Stuff the left brain, with its step-by-step logic, might miss or struggle with. So the quantum data is basically that raw, sometimes overwhelming stream of intuitive, often nonverbal insight. The book proposes that poetry, because of its structure, its metaphors, rhythm, ambiguity, all those layers of meaning, acts like a training ground. It trains the logical left brain to get better at handling this quantum data, at screening it, error correcting it, translating those intuitive insights into a format it can actually use, make accessible. It helps the left brain build bridges, essentially, to understand and integrate the right brain's wisdom. And that leads to a more fluid, integrated way of thinking, connecting disparate ideas, which is, the hallmark of genius and exactly what Darwin's earlier mind did so well.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense. Framing it as a metaphor for integrated thinking, right brain intuition meeting left brain structure. So let's talk more about this biohacking power of poetry then. That term itself, it really grabs you. For anyone unfamiliar, biohacking here means using these small, intentional changes, diet, exercise, or reading poetry to optimize your mind and body, peak performance, well-being. And the book claims poetry isn't just nice to have, it's presented as a direct path to opening new doors of perception, thought, and emotion, suggesting it actually rewires our brain pathways for deeper insight.
Precisely. It's framed as an active intervention, not passive enjoyment. What's really compelling is this idea of poetry as a dynamic tool, not just for stopping decline, but for actively expanding our mental and emotional range. When you engage with poetry, you're basically giving parts of your brain a workout, the parts dealing with pattern recognition, emotional subtlety, abstract thought. This helps you connect dots, perceive complex patterns, different shades of meaning, things you might totally miss in, say, reading a technical manual or just everyday prose. And the practical results of this, according to Miller, enhanced cognition, so sharper thinking, better problem solving, plus improved emotional depth and regulation. Huge for well-being. But it goes further. It suggests poetry cultivates more powerful ways to perceive and interact with multiple realities, using ideas that push past conventional limits. So it's not just about feeling better, it's about thinking better, thinking deeper, broader, accessing a richer understanding of everything.
And crucially, it's not just theory. The Biohacker's Guide to Poetry doesn't just stop at the why. It offers a theoretical backbone for multiple brain biohacking techniques, practical stuff. The book actually includes a simple poetry tutorial, specific reading and writing exercises. And these aren't random exercises, are they? They're inspired by some heavy hitters: Zhuangzi, Socrates, Plato, ancient philosophers. Designed, it says, to reveal mystical realms of thought. Okay, can you give us a flavor of that? Like, how does an exercise from Zhuangzi help you find mystical realms? And how do the global examples fit in?
Sure, let's take Zhuangzi, the ancient Taoist thinker. His philosophy often uses these parables, metaphors, ways to challenge how we normally think, suggesting reality is way deeper than we perceive. So an exercise inspired by him might ask you to take something ordinary like a stone or a cup or a tree and write a short poem about it. And here's the key, you have to avoid literal descriptions. Instead, you focus on its essence, maybe its connection to the universe, its impermanence, the feelings it sparks, often using paradox or unexpected comparisons. The point isn't literary perfection, it's to push your mind out of its usual ruts. to consider multiple non-linear possibilities. That's how it reveals mystical realms of thought by expanding your interpretive framework. The book really emphasizes this hands-on approach, and to make it vivid, the author weaves in examples from his own travels: China, Inner Mongolia, Cambodia, India, Mexico. He doesn't just name-drop places. He uses specific cultural traditions, maybe the conciseness of Japanese haiku or the rhythm of Buddhist chants, or the storytelling in indigenous Mexican verse, to show how diverse forms of poetry across time and culture have basically served the same biohacking purpose: expanding consciousness, deepening perception.
Yeah, that really helps visualize it. Shows how these global traditions aren't just museum pieces. They're active paths to these deeper states of mind. Definitely more than just appreciating literature.
Exactly right. And look, the ultimate goal here isn't just avoiding decline or making your brain smarter in some narrow sense. It's about proactively tuning yourself for, well, a better reality, opening up more meaning, more possibilities in your life. The exercises are specifically designed to help keep your brain youthful, creative, and innovative long term. But beyond just brain power, many are framed as tools to help you identify and align with your higher self and your higher purpose. So, yeah, it starts with Darwin's struggle, but the book quickly builds this powerful framework for real personal growth. Self-discovery through actively working with verse. It suggests that by kind of rewiring your mind with poetry, you don't just boost cognition, you get clearer on your deepest values and what you're really aiming for.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening right now? It means Darwin's forgotten theory, brought back to life and backed by this really broad look at brain science in Miller's book. It suggests poetry is way more than just pleasure or study. It's potentially a profound catalyst for cognitive enhancement, for emotional richness, a powerful, accessible biohack for your overall mental well-being. And this idea is supported now by modern research and ancient wisdom. It really makes you rethink what counts as brain training, doesn't it?
It really does. Ultimately, this whole deep dive into Darwin's late insights and these modern biohacking ideas about poetry, it fundamentally challenges us, I think, to reconsider what we even mean by brain exercise. Could it be that few lines of verse, a simple poem, maybe a short writing exercise, could that be the simplest yet most profound tool we have for cultivating not just a sharper mind, but a richer, more emotionally connected, maybe even more purposeful life? It's definitely something to chew on.